Guys, did you know that Prophet Owour, or the mightiest prophet, the man that calls himself the mightiest prophet in Kenya, also known as Dr. David Edward Owour, has a son with a lady in Israel? Guys, that is not just it. I want to talk to you about how his career started of being a pastor. Before then, of course, there is his actual career in science. Guys, I want to tell you that when Owour was in the United States, he had a partner who left him, and after the partner left, that is when he started talking about visionaries of wanting to become a pastor. He has never committed himself to any other woman because he talked about him not being able to have a family because he has to move from one place to another to be able to preach and spread the gospel. So he literally does not have one woman that is committed to his life as a wife and a family that we can find as a basic unit of the society. Now, guys, this is not to invalidate him or make him look like different, but I just want to talk about some of the things that personally I found when I was reading about him as being red flags that people could have seen but refused to see about this mightiest prophet. And before we get to those red flags, let's just first of all try to understand who Pastor Owour is. Because most of us know him for the message of repentance, and we know him because he talked about how he was able to predict different calamities. And one thing, guys, I want to tell you about, if someone is very educated, they have they have so much education to PhD level, they have the ability to do anything, like the ability to manipulate people at a very at a very high level. So, because they understand people, they can see people better. Education has given them or opened up their mind. So when they tell you what they want you to hear. So when they become religious leaders, I'm not saying that it is wrong for people to be educated and to become religious leaders, but some of them can be dangerous. Now, guys, it's not to say that this man is a dangerous man. I don't know him. I'm not his follower. But I just found this story about him very interesting. So, guys, Dr. David Edward Owour was born in 1966 to Ezekiel and Margaret Ochieng in Goma. And that is in Nyanza province then, when we were talking about provinces. And he grew up and became this very prominent person, somebody that also attracts a lot of controversy in the Kenyan landscape. One thing that I would like to say is that he is a second born in a family of 6. And he spent most of his early childhood in Uganda. So he actually studied in Uganda. First and foremost, he started his primary school, of course, in Wambasa Primary School in Siaya. But because his father worked in Uganda, he actually moved there and relocated with his family. And that is where he went to school in Luzira and Kitalia schools and Bale Senior Secondary School. And then later on, he joined Makerere. He went to St. Peter's College, Tororo, for his A-levels, and then Makerere University in Kampala, Uganda, for his Bachelor's of Science degree. So because at that time, there was a lot of unrest in Uganda, he actually had to move to University of Nairobi to complete his degree, his bachelor's degree. And he completed his undergraduate in University of Nairobi in 1988. So guys, he was so keen on genetics. And you know, genetics are the basic building blocks of our body. So he really understands how this genetics and everything comes together to form us humans. So he is actually beyond, he understands the basics beyond what we who have not done genetics do understand. So he showed a lot of interest, and he continued to further. He did a master's in genetics at the same institution, and he was recognized because he was very bright for his academic excellence. And then he got a scholarship, and he went to do, he moved to Israel. That is where he did his, that is where he did a specialization in biochemical genetics. And during that time, that is when he met a lady. They had a son. They never married. The son was left in Israel. He came back to Kenya and did some volunteer work with UNEP, and he embarked on another degree in biochemical genetics at University of Haifa in DNA sequencing. So later on, he did his postdoctoral endeavors at University of Chicago Center for Pharmaceutical Biotechnology in the United States, and there he specialized in signal transduction. And then he did some lecturing and here and there, and then focused so much on cancer-related studies, guys. Now, his personal life is not very well known in public, but Owour is not married. He said he wasn't in a position to be able to commit to a married life because he had to dedicate most of the time to constant travel and dedication in making and then maintaining a family would be very challenging because he has to move from one place to another preaching the gospel. But that doesn't mean he doesn't have kids. Like I said, he has a son but did not marry the mother. Now, guys, in the United States, he also had a partner. And when the partner left, he started saying he had some onset of visionary experiences. And there his career started of ministry. And he claimed to have this divine calling in 2003 to serve as a prophet, and he established the ministry of repentance and holiness. And so over the years, his ministry has really specialized on repentance, holiness, and Owour has attracted a lot of substantial following from people. He has performed miracles, and a lot of claims have come out that actually his miracles are not genuine. Even at some point, he claimed to have resurrected a lady. So in 2017, he reported the resurrection of a woman called Mama Rosa, and this garnered him a lot of attention, but also people were very skeptical about the whole thing. So guys, hey, guys, when we see red flags, we don't want to appreciate or acknowledge this is a red flag from our religious leaders. Anyways, in 2019, Owour and his ministry were implicated in a scandal involving a lawyer, Jane Muthoni Jagi, where actually he was being alleged to have isolated her from the family, manipulated her psychologically and financially, and exploited her together with his associates. And reports had indicated that she was actually isolated from her family. She appeared to be disoriented and not really understand what was wrong about her. She was coerced into relinquishing control of her properties to individuals within the ministry. And then at that time when the story came out, the family was actually seeking it was seeking to have those properties returned to the family by Owour. But because he had already manipulated this lady, the lady came out publicly and defended Owour. And she actually asserted that her family was misinformed about the entire situation. Now, guys, we don't know really what happened and whether this was true or not. But honestly, where there's smoke, there's fire. So some followers have come out at different times. People have left their careers. There has been a lot of allegations that people actually, because now he also left his career, he started ministry. He has been doing very well. So a lot of people have actually been alleged to have left their careers and their education and their family responsibilities to actually follow the prophet. Now, one thing that I usually ask myself is, you've seen someone that has said they are not interested in family. Such people, they don't really understand what it takes to have family. So isolating you from their family is very easy. So if there are people leaving their families and their responsibilities to follow the prophet, it is definitely very clear that Jesus, the guy is not in touch with reality. So a lot of people have criticized his teachings, practices, and guys, this man was elevated by even politicians, because there's a time he actually baptized Raila Amolo Odinga. So I don't know what you guys think about this situation of the mightiest prophet, Dr. David Owour, but his journey as a scientist and the shift from being a scientist to a religious leader is not something that I'm trying to criticize, but it's also something that people should actually also think about. I'm not saying that following God is bad, but at the same time, it should be in a way that benefits people, and in a way that it doesn't cause a lot of what I would say, doesn't make people feel like, oh, maybe there's something behind or something beyond what meets the eye. That's what I just mean to say at this particular point. I don't know what you guys think about this story, but I am always of the opinion that if there's anything behind there that has not come up, it will definitely come up at some point. I don't know what you guys think, but that is just my opinion at this point.